So, you may have seen this picture before. If you haven't, it is a giant's finger that is approximately 15 inches long, which, if that is true, it would belong to somebody that is 18 foot tall. And for reference, my middle finger is, well, we'll just say it's like 5 or 6 inches. Yeah, that's fine. Anyways, the guy that found this was Gregor Sporari, and he kept a pretty detailed journal of his adventure while he was in Egypt. Now, let's go ahead and get this out of the way because I was pretty skeptical in the first place. He's sitting there in a freaking t-shirt, a badass one, I will say. However, he's not wearing any gloves, and he's holding a 15-inch long mummified giant's finger. None of this is right. It's all wrong in general. Like, it is not professional in any way, shape, or form. However, once I dug into his journals of the adventure to even come across this, it all kind of makes sense and lends a little bit more credibility to this because he is also a skeptic of this. And that's pretty fascinating. However, I figured you all would enjoy the journal entries too, so I emailed him and got permission to read these to everybody else. And I wanted to read them so everybody understood the whole ordeal behind Bir Hooker and how this relic come to be. Now, I want to go ahead and skip about halfway into this journal entry, as the first half of it is him trying to discover pyramid power, or at least some way through meditation where you get an energy from a pyramid. And unfortunately for him, I guess, he didn't get to feel any sort of power, or he didn't get any sort of weird, cool spiritual experience, and he was kind of let down on it. And he was discussing this with his friend, and that's where we're going to pick up now in this journal entry. So this adventure starts off in 1988 at the Hotel Capsus Palace, 117 Ramses Street, Cairo. After the pyramid adventure, I returned to the hotel to go and get some sleep. After dinner, I met Jochen at the hotel bar. I had to meet the German engineer on the fly from Hurghada to Cairo and told him about my plans. Jochen is eager to find out how the experiments turned out. Complete nonsense. I get upset. You're just taking money out of the pockets of gullible people with this esoteric myth. And what about Napoleon and this English writer? Asked Jochen. Probably just tall tales too, I ran on. Jochen replies, I don't think you're the right type for it. Oh, you mean I don't have the fine mental tools, the antenna or something like that? I respond defiantly. Jochen nods, grins, and asks what it was like at the top of the pyramid. By the way, he did climb up to the top of the pyramid, and that's pretty cool too because he also got busted. Anyways, back to it, and I'll wave it off. Nothing happened at all. The German asks, did you do everything right? I quote from the Pyramid Forces book, if you position a bottle filled with liquid at the point of the original pyramid tip, the cosmic energy entering there causes the bottle to burst. A purely physical experiment without any spiritual demands on the experimenter, Jochen has to admit. Exactly. And I, idiot, am dragging half my diving equipment up there with me to protect myself from an exploding bottle. Jochen gives me a comforting pat on the shoulder. We order beer for him and a Coke for me. We raid Barman Ahmed's stock of pistachios and discuss Egypt, its pharaohs, the pyramids, and the mysteries surrounding them until we are well past midnight. Next journal entry, April 14th, 1988. A momentous decision. So after breakfast, Jochen says goodbye to me. His onward journey takes him to Luxor. On the way back to my room, Ahmed suddenly stands in front of me. The bartender speaks in a wild mix of German, English, and Arabic. From what he says, I only understand the following. I know someone who has exceptionally beautiful objects for sale. Are you interested? Ahmed's motive is easy to see through. He wants me to visit a dealer he knows. If a deal is struck, the bartender collects a commission, a side business without much effort for him. Today is my last day in Egypt. The small city hotel is neither a garden nor a pool where I could relax for the rest of the day. During my tour of the country, I saw everything I wanted to see, bought enough souvenirs for my family and friends. I just haven't found anything suitable for myself yet, so I'm happy to accept Ahmed's offer. And now we get into the travelogue of Gregor Sporari, and please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm just not Swiss. I can't. This is the best I can do. Anyways, let's get into it. The rickety Peugeot 504 struggles through the round-the-clock traffic jam. While the cab driver's feet dance on the pedals, he hammers his fist incessantly on the steering wheel. Obviously, the only way to make any headway in this chaos is by pushing and honking recklessly. I look over at the dashboard to find out how many millions of kilometers this rickety ass car has already clocked up. However, the speedometer and odometer don't even work, obviously, nor does the ventilation, and not to mention the air conditioning. When we finally reach the city limits, the traffic decreases rapidly and I can breathe again, finally. Ahmed didn't hide from me that the destination was outside of Cairo. However, I am surprised that we are traveling on a desert road towards Alexandria. And now we're looking at bush landscapes and sandy hills as they pass by our open windows all the way around. We overtake donkey carts and roaring trucks that blow stinking clouds of soot into the air. We dodge potholes, piles of burning palm fronds, and animal carcasses. Most of them are strays such as dog or cats that have been just obviously run over, but there are also donkeys among them, which is so wild. 2.5 hours later, we leave the desert road at Bir Hooker and turn onto a dirt track. The 504 bumps along on the road to a farmhouse surrounded by date palms and a mud brick wall. Children play in front of the gate, and they come running out and stick their smiling faces inside the car. The driver presses the horn. I'm getting out. The children immediately surround me with a big old hello. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this, but it's not going to be right. Bir Hooker, Wadi El Natron, 120 kilometers from Cairo. That's where he's at. This is a pretty remote place for a souvenir store, I think, as the trader comes to the gate. The Arab is half a head taller than me and wears the traditional men's dress. I estimate him to be over 70 years old. His elongated, sharp-edged face has something of a Pharaoh Akhenaten about it. The driver parks under some palm trees and makes himself comfortable in the back seat with the doors open all the way around. Najib, as the old man introduces himself to me, first shoos away the crowd of children, then leads me around the outside to the back of the house. I look around for something like a sales room, but there's nothing there except a wooden bench and a small table. Najib asks me to take a seat and then disappears into the house. Shortly afterwards, he returns with tea and dates. While the drink steams in the glasses, he digs a shisha out from under the bench and sits down next to me. Sucking on his pipe, he looks me up and down, then asks in broken English, "Where are you from?" From Switzerland. What do you want? I give him a funny look. I'm here for the souvenirs. Now it's him who's looking funny. What kind of souvenirs? At this point, I'm pretty irritated. But this Ahmed from the Hotel Capsus in Cairo, you know him, don't you? Najib nods. Yeah, he's my nephew. Okay, so your nephew told me you had some very nice pieces for sale, and because I'm looking for a decorative memento for my home. Decorative memento? The old man interrupts me and grimaces. He then wants to know what I do for a living and why I came to Egypt. I wonder what that has to do with him, but then I tell him about my company and the pyramid experiment. He listens attentively and occasionally asks me a question. When I mention the rock chamber under the pyramid of Khufu, he raises his eyebrows for a moment, then nothing really happens for a while. He smokes and looks off into the distance. I sit next to him, drinking tea and chewing his dates. Finally, Najib puts the smoking device to one side. My nephew was wrong about you. What I have to offer is certainly not what you are looking for. I'll write him a note and then the cab will take you back to the city. At this point, I feel like the biggest idiot. The day is ruined and so is my mood. Ahmed is going to hear something from me, I exclaim. Najib stands up. A young woman comes out of the house. I found out later that it is his granddaughter. The two of them chat away. I don't understand a word. The woman disappears back into the house, and the old codger takes another seat next to me. Again, nothing happens for a while. Then Najib says, barely louder than a murmur, I could show you something for a fee. I react irritably. You just said you had nothing for me. I just want to show you, not sell you. And am I supposed to pay for that too? I complain, as you should. Najib tells me that he sells art treasures taken from old graves to well-heeled collectors from all over the world. In turn, I wonder how the barman could have had the idea of seeing me as an antique collector. These guys usually wear fine fabrics and silk ties while I walk around in a t-shirt, washed out jeans, and worn out sandals. See, there's a whole reason for the apparel. I can only think of one answer. Ahmed listened to the conversation between Jockin and me last last night and drew completely wrong conclusions from it. He is very, very old, I hear Najib's voice in my ear. Very few people have ever seen him. I look at Najib from the side. His gaze is directed into the distance again. You're interested in what the Great Pyramid is all about, aren't you? I furrow my brow. Man is afraid of time, but time is somehow afraid of the pyramids. And at this point, he's like, what is he going on about? When you have seen what I am prepared to show you, you will see the pyramid with completely different eyes. Is the old man taking the piss? I ask him, you know the true purpose of the Great Pyramids? No, but I know some very old legends. The clay plastered walls shimmer in a pale blue. Curtains instead of doors separate the rooms. Najib leads me into a room at the back of his house. There is a chest of drawers there, a blind mirror, a sofa with dingy red blanket over it, a wardrobe, and 2 wooden chests. The room looks completely cluttered. Although the furnishings are old and worn, they still look far too feudal for an Egyptian country house. As the son of a period cabinet maker, I think I know that this is English furniture from the late 19th century. Najib asks me to take a seat on the sofa, digs a bunch of keys out from under his dress, bends over one of the 2 chests, and opens it. I stretch my neck, but his back blocks my view. When Najib turns around, he is holding a long bundle wrapped in brown leather. He puts it down next to me on the sofa and unties the strings. Dirty white linen emerges from under the leather. He carefully unfolds the fabric. I look at the musty smelling object with a mixture of curiosity and amazement. It has the shape of a toggle, is about 30 to 40 centimeters long, 6 to 8 centimeters thick, flattened on the upper side and bent twice lengthwise. A piece of bone sticks out of the thicker end. What is that? A chopped off goat's leg? Is the old man once again taking the piss? I take a closer look. The hairless brownish skin, partially infested with mold, has burst open in several places. The fibrous tissue underneath gives the impression that mice have pretty much gnawed on it. I lift the creepy thing up. It weighs a few hundred grams. Perplexed, I turn it over and freeze at the same moment. A cold shiver runs down my spine. This is absolutely impossible, I think. What I'm holding in my hands cannot possibly exist. I force myself to take my eyes off of it and look up at Najib. He stands above me with an impressive face. We stare at each other for a moment. Najib's black eyes reflect the knowledge of a monstrous secret from time long past. I can't and don't want to believe it, so I study the finger more closely. Najib notices my suspicion, reaches into the chest again, pulls out a leather folder and hands it to me. The folder contains an old magnifying glass and an envelope with a yellow document. A rusty paperclip holds a kind of checklist to tick off, a hand-cut x-ray, and a faded Polaroid photo. Najib explains to me that he inherited the relic from his father, who in turn took it over from his father. The old man can't or won't tell me where the finger originally came from. However, he explains that his deceased son had the relic examined by an acquaintance in Cairo in the 1960s. Is the relic a fake? My father is a cabinet maker by trade. As a boy, I often went to his workshop after school to make myself some kind of toy. I am therefore familiar with a wide variety of materials and know how different types of wood and leather, fabrics, plastic, etc. feel. With this knowledge and the feel of my fingers, I examine the relic. The magnifying glass is a great help, but no matter how hard I strain my eyes, I can't find anything that points to a forgery. After a good hour, Najib tells me that my visit is over. I want to take a photo of the finger, for which I naturally have to put down a generous bakshish. Unfortunately, the 24mm film in my camera is already half full. To document the enormous size of the finger, I placed an Egyptian 20-pound note next to it. At my request, Najib also takes a picture of me with his finger on my lap. He then accompanies me outside, where the cab driver is already waiting impatiently. I asked the old man if he would sell the relic, which he firmly refuses to do. During the drive from Bir Hooker back to Cairo, I continue to think hard. Have I overlooked something? According to him, the old man deals in stolen antiques. Why not with counterfeits too? There is certainly a lot of money to be made with imitation figurines, vessels, furniture, and other objects from the pharaonic era, But with this, what's more, a forgery of this quality with documents and an x ray is certainly not easy or cheap to produce. So, why all of the effort? And then Najib didn't even want to sell me the thing. The longer I think about it, the more certain I am that Bir Hooker's relic is not a fake. At this point, he goes on by sending the papers to professionals in all different kinds of categories to get them to explain what he's seeing here. And a lot of them agree that it's pretty interesting. Now, he's not saying, "Hey, this is 100% real." He's just saying, "Hey, I found this and I find it interesting." And like he said, the guy wouldn't even sell it to him, which is odd to do with a fake. But I mean, things have sentimental even if they are fake. But unfortunately, I had to ask him in an email, "Did you go back?" And he said, "Of course he went back." I mean, that was dumb of me to even ask. But he went back and he could no longer find the place. Like he couldn't find him. The whole entire area grew up too much, and he just couldn't find the person again. Now, one of the things that all the professionals, while they did say this was abnormal because of the shape of the finger, there is this one thing called giantism, and whenever it infects your fingers, they grow abnormally big. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but the problem with this is the bone is also growing ginormously, which would mean that there is some other condition. And the experts do agree that it would be a really good fake. But, I mean, obviously, nobody can prove it. He doesn't have it. He just has pictures of it. And professionals think it's pretty interesting, and they're like, yeah, maybe it could be something. But they're all understandable with the agreement that nobody could ever say that it is 100% real because nobody actually has us. So that is interesting. But all the way around, I found this really interesting because, like I said, it kind of gives credence to how he even come about this and the fact that he wasn't like 100%, oh, this is real. But it's interesting how, if it is fake, it's a really good fake. And the whole mysticism behind it is just awesome. If you all want to look at this, go to gregorsporeri.com. You can Google that and most likely it'll pop up, and look into the tale of Bir Hooker yourself. He's also getting ready to publish a book, so that's cool. Anyways, I thought it was interesting, and I think giants are cool, and I just thought you all would think it was interesting. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you all enjoyed that, please consider following if you want, or liking, whatever you want to do. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. Okay, have a great day. Bye.